in law, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Matthew 10:35-36. When one of his disciples requested time off for his father's funeral, Jesus rebuked him by saying, let the dead bury their dead. Matthew 8:22. He never used the word family, and he never married or fathered children. To his own mother, he disrespectfully said, woman, what have I to do with thee? John 2:4. His moral advice was occasionally bad, as is shown by Matthew 19:12, which says, there be eunuchs. The eunuch is defined by Webster as a castrated man in charge of an oriental harem, or a man or a boy, for that matter, lacking the normal function of the testes because of castration or disease. Anyway, he says, there be eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it, unquote. Some believers, including the church father Origen, took this verse literally and castrated themselves. Even metaphorically, this advice is in poor taste. Jesus wasn't reliable because he told his disciples in Matthew 16:18 that they would not die before his second coming. He said, there be some standing here who shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And he said in Revelations 3:1, behold, I come quickly. It's been 2,000 years, and believers are still waiting for his quick, quote-unquote, return. He mistakenly claimed that the mustard seed is the least of all seeds, Matthew 13:32, when it's not, and that salt would lose its saltness or lose its savor, Matthew 5:13. Jesus said that whoever calls somebody a fool shall be in danger of hellfire. He said that in Matthew 5:22. Yet he called people fools himself. You can see this in Matthew 23:17. Regarding his own truthfulness, Jesus gave two conflicting opinions. Quote, if I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true, John 5:31. And later, though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, John 8:14. Additional questionable teachings by Jesus are marrying a divorced woman is adultery, Matthew 5:32. Don't plan for the future, Matthew 6:34. Don't save money, Matthew 6:19-20. Don't become wealthy, Mark 10:21-25. Sell everything you have and give it to the poor, Luke 12:33. Don't work to obtain food, John 6:27. Don't have sexual urges, Matthew 5:28. Make people want to persecute you, Matthew 5:11. Let everyone know you are better than the rest, Matthew 5:13-16. Take money from those who have no savings and give it to the rich investors, Luke 19:23-26. If someone steals from you, don't try to get it back, Luke 6:30. If someone hits you, invite him to do it again, Matthew 5:39. If you lose a lawsuit, give more than the judgment, Matthew 5:40. If someone forces you to walk a mile, walk 2 miles, Matthew 5:41. And if someone asks you for anything, give it to them without question, Matthew 5:42. Is any of this wise? Is this what you would teach your children? Although verses can be cited that portray Jesus differently, that is, in a good light, they do not erase the disturbing side of his character. The conflicting passages only prove the New Testament is contradictory. The golden rule was said many times by earlier religious leaders. Confucius said, Do not unto others that which you would not have them do unto you. Turn the other cheek encourages victims to invite further violence. Love thy neighbor actually applied to only fellow believers. Neither the Jews nor Jesus showed much love to foreign nations or religions. A few of the Beatitudes, blessed are the peacemakers, for example, are acceptable, but they are all conditioned on future rewards rather than respect for human life or values. As I've often said in the past, you should do the right because it's the right thing to do, not because you expect some kind of kickback, rewards, or payoffs someday. At any rate, Dan continues, on the whole, Jesus introduced nothing new to ethics except hell. He instituted no social programs. Being omniscient, he could have shared some useful science or medicine, but he appeared ignorant of such things as if his character were merely the invention of writers stuck in the first century. Many scholars doubt the historical existence of Jesus to begin with. No first century writers confirms the Jesus story. Consisting mostly of material borrowed from pagan religions, the Jesus story appears to be cut from the same fabric as all other myths and fables. Unquote, Dan Barker. We'd like to conclude by reading another critical letter. The writer states, by now you're probably wondering how I can read your publication and not throw my Bible into the abyss of the inane. Well, quite frankly, I need a compelling reason to. Upon hearing my statement, you may be inclined to accuse me of faith devoid of reality and desperately wanting to believe old superstitions. Yet, while I am sure that this reasoning may be applied to some Christians, it can't be applied to all. Unquote. To this I replied, if you've read every issue of our publication, which I doubt, and you haven't found any compelling reason to abandon the Bible, then you have not only corroborated the importance of early indoctrination, if not brainwashing, but exposed a desperate need for something to cling to despite all information, logic, evidence, and common sense to the contrary. You don't believe the Bible because of the evidence. You believe it despite the evidence. Your willingness to abandon reason in favor of faith shows vividly why religion in general, and the Bible in particular, are opposed to thinking rationally, and no amount of intellectualizing can prove otherwise. Your lot in life is so insecure and you feel so inadequate that you desperately cling to that which is alluring, consoling, and comforting, regardless of what reality says to the contrary. Incidentally, I can't help but wonder how you obtain our publication to begin with, since you're not on our mailing list. Don't you feel an obligation to pay for that which you receive? Or do you feel that freeloading is a natural and understandable trait of biblicis? That completes our presentation. And please join us later for the 88th edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary, when we'll continue showing why the Bible is nothing more than the flawed composition of some fallible human beings. Thank you for listening.